Okay, members, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of Business and Culture Committee to be held hybrid, both remotely via WebEx and also physically in the Council Chamber in the Guildhall. So we take the roll call. Alderman Morris Devaney.
Here, Stephen.
Alderman Drew Thompson. Alderman Ryan McCready.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Sean Carr.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Shauna Cusack.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Gary Donnelly.
And Shaw.
Councillor Rory Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Sean Hargan.
Here.
Councillor Conor Heaney.
He's on his way.
Councillor Patricia Logue.
Oh,
Councillor Joe McGowan.
Here.
Councillor Ciaran Maguire. And Councillor Lillian C. Nybar. Thank you, members.
I'm going to read the notice and summons of meeting. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the Guildhall or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to be informed into the use and storage of these images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website. I'll move on to item 4 now, which is a declaration of members' interest. If any members would like to declare an interest in anything that they have on the agenda that may conflict. Okay, I don't see any members there. Moving on to chairperson's business, I have 2 items on chairperson's business. The first item I would like to raise is this report that came out this week on Invest NI, which I think all members may have read or at least seen some of the press coverage. I don't think it's any surprise to members in this chamber. And I see Rory Farrell here. He's been raising issues on this for quite a while. But I think the report not only shocked members, but it shocked me in terms of how bad it shaped the organisation. Hearing that they have 647 staff and that only 50 of these are based across 5 regional offices was probably not news, but again, the level of the headcount in Belfast was shocking. But also within the report, hearing about the lack of accountability, the conflict between the board and the officers in there, and also this golden circle of 2/3 of companies, or sorry, a number of companies taking 2/3 of most of their budget was pretty bad reading for me. Again, I think I'm on the record, as many of us here are, of how we feel that Invest and I have failed this city. My own experience during the pandemic, I felt they just went into hibernation, and many other companies felt the same. So I have a bit of a motion here, if you bear with me. I think we as a council need to prepare a response to this shocking review of Invest NI, which has highlighted what we've all known. I think we should task officers to prepare a response to this report, which members would agree. I think we should write the Invest NI on the back of this and ask for some explanation. I also think we should seek an urgent meeting, not just with the CEO, but with the board. And I know in the past, Rory and others have asked for that, and it has fallen on deaf ears. I think this report offers us that catalyst to get back now to the board and to the interim CEO and demand that they come to Derry and have a meeting with us. We as a council We want to hear what they intend to do to redress this clear imbalance that exists within this report. And we want them to work better with this council because we feel this council is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And we can't do it on the ratepayers budget that we have. We feel that their lack of provision in this space is putting pressure on our own budgets here. So with that, I'm asking members to support that. I'll take any comments from anyone that wants to speak in this, but I think Darien Strabane is demanding better and we need a bit more delivery. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and my voice has gone a bit, so just please bear with me. I would completely concur with your remarks. We should be responding formally to the independent review panel's assessment of the efficiency and the effectiveness of Invest NI as an organisation. And whilst we have invited senior leadership from within Invest NI, at executive level, we haven't invited the board to come here and to listen to our concerns. So I would fully support that direction of travel, so much so that I would second your proposal, Chair. I have read the report, and I would imagine most members have read the report, and I would imagine that executives in Invest NI must be licking their wounds after this particularly damning and particularly damaging report. And the same should be said for a host of former DUP ministers. They should be hanging their heads in shame because they created the conditions for this mess to go unchecked since 2005, in fairness. There's going to be plenty of bruised and battered egos and reputations in Invest NI and in the DUP, and I really don't care. They're not going to get any sympathy from me or from the SDLP. They made this mess. They created this mess. They need to own it and they need to fix it. But for us, for the SDLP, this isn't about having a kick at Invest NI. It's not about picking things out the report that suit our agenda. This is about getting a fair deal for Darien Strabane. We want a level playing field, and at the minute, it's not level. It's not balanced. It's just not fair at all. And if we look at the job creation figures for last year, Invest NI supported the creation of 67 jobs in this council area, compared to 1,657 jobs in Belfast City Council. That's what needs to be fixed. So fully support your proposal, Chair. We need to speak to the board. We need to see how they're going to fix it. And I'd also love to hear from the DUP to see what they have to say about this shameful situation. Thank you.
Councillor Hargan.
Thank you, Chair, and I agree with your motion as well, or proposal. I thought that the findings of the review were sorted. I mean, sorted, not sorted, because how else could you describe what else is the content of the document? An organisation that is rudderless, where there's massive infighting, where people are on huge amounts of money, and this is an organisation with a massive budget, and it's disgraceful that this is been allowed to go on for so long. So something has to happen. This can't be allowed. This organisation can't be allowed to walk into the future with these issues unaddressed. So there needs to be accountability. It's unfortunate that Stormont right now is down because it won't be able to kind of take immediate action to deal with the problem, we're not even in a position where we can call for immediate action on the basis of this report. But I do think that the Invest NI board should be in here to give us an explanation and to be held accountable. I felt that while I agreed with the content of the report, I thought that it didn't link it enough, in my opinion, to it didn't talk enough about regional inequalities because I don't think, and I think that has to be at the heart of the report. Nor did it talk enough about Stormont's overall strategy over the last 25 years for economic development. I think Invest NI's catastrophic state has got a lot to do with the failed economic strategy that Stormont has had for the last 25 years. And part of that failed economic strategy is the lack of economic investment in the dairy and the Northwest, which we're well versed on. So in addition to your proposal, I think we should invite the Permanent Secretary from the Department of Economy. I know that is not the same as having a minister here who has political oversight, but I think it's an opportunity for us as a council to be able to put our thoughts about Invest NI and its relationship to investment for dairy in the Northwest across to a Permanent Secretary who has some power right now to have an impact. So I'd like to amend it, if that's okay with you, Chair, to also include that invitation.
No problem, Sean. We can amend that. And Councillor Lowe?
Thank you, Chair, and I certainly agree with your proposal. I suppose, as you and others have said, that there's nothing new that this report could tell us that we didn't already know, but it is stark when you see it when you see it in black and white. And I do think it was very cowardly of Invest NI not to give an interview after this report came out and instead put out two YouTube videos. I think that's telling in itself. I think it is also shameful that a minister has sat over this organisation for so long when he was hearing, they were hearing so many concerns about this organisation, which was supposed to serve all of the North, and it shamefully failed in their remit. So I would certainly agree with your proposal, and also to agree with the amendment to bring the Permanent Secretary. Thank you.
I know Councillor Donnelly has asked for the proposal. We're a bit light in staff today, but Kevin's working frantically here to tap it on. He's a far better typer than me. So we'll have something. Oh, he's pulling faces here. Have we any elevator music just to fill in? No, we'll have something up now, Councillor Donnelly. Give us 2 seconds. Councillor McCready, if you want to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to support your motion as well in its entirety, including that amendment. I'm not surprised when I read the report, although it is shocking. Anecdotally, and what you can pick up, well, certainly what I picked up over the last number of years since I've been home, in various aspects of life, specifically business, the disparity between the outputs of the organisation for Belfast and the city region as a Northwest city region here, we're miles apart. And I'm thankful that an independent review has been concluded, which has defined precisely what that is. So there's no more hiding behind bureaucracy. It's out in the open for all to see. So I'd be keen to get those representatives from the organisation and the board specifically down for a frank conversation on how we can rectify these issues. I think not only that organisation with Invest NI, clearly they do have some really good people, client representatives and so on at the lower end, but there seemed to be a strategic deficit here and access for that type of support for businesses to grow, scale up in the Northwest, which is a real shame because we've got some fantastic, bright entrepreneurship being released up here, just not supported by that organisation to the extent you would do if you were in Belfast, evidently. And secondly, as well, that this organisation just didn't get carte blanche with X amount of million. They're linked to the government, they're linked to a department, and in tandem with a ministerial position. So, whilst there's been very little oversight and governance, there is accountability, and the accountability certainly does lie with the political aspect, which should not be left off the hook, despite there being no executive or sitting assembly or ministers for that matter. It is a real shame. Now that we've got to this point, we now need to build that back up in everything else we're doing, such as like the city deal, our aspirations of an innovation zone, and even recently you've seen the trilateral engagement with Ulster University, Limerick University, and I forget what the third one is. So please excuse me for that. But it's the innovation corridor throughout up in the island in its entirety, but through the Northwest region to our city. It's all these things are, culminating for us to do really good things, to be an actual prosperous city. So to get these people down and have that conversation, I very welcome it, and certainly have my questions primed so that there's nowhere to hide anymore. So thanks for your proposal, Chair, that I fully support on behalf of the Ulster Unionist Party. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. And look, I have no problem in supporting the proposal going forward here. And I think there's an amendment onto it. No problem in supporting that as well. Look, at the end of the day, it has been a very, very damning report and very much public and around that arena and around Invest NI, the feelings and around it. And, they've been mentioned by yourself and quite a few other members. And look, we are very, very happy to support bringing the board down and whoever needs to come down to discuss the feelings and to discuss, once again, and I've stood by people here many, many times over this last decade or more, always maintaining that there was a disparity between the Northwest and the east of the province and around investment. And that investment is always, as the previous speaker quite rightly said, it's all about, helping new businesses, giving them that helping hand up and promoting businesses. And, when you promote businesses, it promotes wealth and it promotes jobs within the council area. But look, and, at the end of the day, we as a council, many, many times in the past, have called for, a fair playing field across investment in the council area here in London area and Strabane. And look, just happy to support the proposal going forward, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Donnelly.
Chair, what surprises me here is that people are shocked regarding this. It's what we have in this part of Ireland. We have a counter-democratic programme operating in the 6 counties, and at the very heart of that, it's based on discrimination, and it denies the very basic of rights, and that's democracy. So it's no surprise for me that this and I call it what it is. It's discrimination is allowed to happen and flourish with impunity. It's endemic. It's ingrained, and it's at the very, very heart of a failed and rotten system, and it's only one aspect of a failed state that treats a significant section of its population with disdain. So look, I'm happy to support the proposal, but I don't see it going anywhere. I don't think that there's proper mechanisms that will deal with this, and it's par for the course, unfortunately. Thank you.
If I could sum up, Councillor Donnelly, I'm not shocked by the level of deprivation in this area caused by policies from InvestNI for the last 20 years. I was really shocked by the disconnect between the board and the management team, which is out now in public. To sum up, the people who work in the city for InvestNI do a fantastic job. The issue is there's only 10 of them. As I said this week already, there's nobody locally that looks after tourism. There's nobody locally that looks after their estate here. What that is very small. And there's nobody here locally that looks after Category 1 or their top clients that are in the city. There's no attempt being made by InvestNI to promote the border region as an economic region. I can't see it. I can't find it anywhere. And there certainly isn't any attempt to promote the Brexit dividend that this city, being the largest city in the EU border, has. So there's many reasons. There is a complete disconnection by what this region is looking for and what this council is leading on. So that's the reason why I think on the back of this report, we need to resoundingly say to the board and the interim CEO that we've had enough. But yes, the shock was the fact that they seem to be concerned about oversight. That shouldn't happen, doesn't happen in here. So I take it there's no dissenters on. Is anyone voting against this, or we'll take it as unanimous? Okay, we'll take that as unanimous. The second thing I want to bring on the chair's business, I've been approached by Stephen Kelly, who runs a local events company. I know he's approached quite a few elected reps about coming on the council to do a presentation on what they could deliver for the city. I know they've run a number of events. I'm sorry, my knowledge of dance events isn't great, but correct me if I get it wrong. Is it Jigga Jigga? Is it? Yeah, Jigga Jigga. Sounds something. But anyway, I think as a council, we need to be looking at what other people are doing and what events are being run across this district and borough and wider afield. So I would ask members if they would support him coming to committee and presenting the members.
We have no issue in listening to anybody about improving events across the city and district, so happy to support. Yep.
Councillor Donnelly?
But Chair, absolutely no problem. But I think there's procedures where they have to contact the relevant committee, and I just I think we should stick to them procedures too. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Donnelly, I'll ask Stephen to write formally to the other Stephen, and we'll get an event in the diary. Oh, sorry, Councillor McCready?
Yes, thanks, Chair. In principle, I've no real issues with this type of engagement. My only concern in outline is precedence and it for it to be fair. So if you've got maybe 10 type of those companies in his sector, such as events, then I don't want anyone coming back to me saying, well, hang on, it's all right for one, but not the other. So have we got a mechanism the same way that we had mechanisms in other committees like environment and generation? We didn't want any specific company to get an unfair advantage or an inadvertent advantage within their sector. So if I could just maybe have I don't know whether it needs a report, but just certainly some assurances that the correct procedures can be applied so that it is fair for other ones and that we're not put in a position where we could be challenged on this. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. I think, without misquoting him, I thought he mentioned a delegation, so I assumed it was him and other people, but I'll talk to Stephen and we can clarify that with Stephen and ensure that we don't break any rules. I'll take on what Councillor Donnelly has said. Have we anyone opposed to that, or can we move on to the next item? Lost my agenda. Okay, so I'll ask Stephen, they write to Stephen, and we'll take it from there. Moving on to matters arising. Section 6. Has anyone got anything on matters arising they want to raise? Take it? No? Okay. That's good. Everybody's happy. Item 7. Access and Inclusion Programme.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's me. See it in here. So members, this report is to update you on the funding secured from the Department for Communities Access and Inclusion Programme and to seek your approval for the initiation of a review process of access audits for council-based cultural venues and the commissioning of 3 new access audits. Members, you'll be well aware of Department for Communities Access and Inclusion Programme, which provides grants for up to £30,000 towards both physical improvements at facilities and work that will enhance the experience and offer to disabled people. In relation to the review of access audits, you actually approved that in October 2023 committee, October 22 that should read, and we're just asking now that one more audit be accommodated as part of that process. In the cultural grant aid results paper of April 21, members, you're provided with the results from Council's Access Programme, which saw an award to Brady and Ulster Scots, which was identified as organisation C in Appendix 3, where they secured just under £30,000 for the Sulla Centre. The Northwest Cultural Partners, which was identified as organisation F in that report, also secured money under what was Council's Access Programme. So in a subsequent report, officers sought and secured your approval to extend Council's Access Programme into this current year for the Solace Centre. The total value of the approved applications for the Council Access Programme was 71,000, and 3 successful applicants were Gasyard, Holywell, and can you hear me okay? And St Colum's Park Reconciliation Trust. Can everybody hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So in November 22, officers submitted 5 projects which were detailed above to the DFC Access and Inclusion Programme. So the successful ones there you'll see set out in the report are the Sulla Centre. The Council also submitted digital, visual and audio guided tours for cultural venues, Gasyard Heritage Capital Project and the Newgate Arts and Culture Centre. DFC Moderation Panel agreed to add the following 2 projects to the contingency list. So they were St Colum's Park House Accessibility Improvements and Holywell Trust. So those 2 weren't successful. Now it should be noted that this is what is not really clear in this report. My apologies for that. But the 2 who have been, so the Gasyard, the Sulla Centre, sorry, and the Newgate one are now, you'll see, were successful in Council's awards. They've been moved now into DFC, so their award under Council's project will be reallocated into the overall access fund for this year. The St Colum's Park House and Holywell Trust were successful in our access programme, so although they're on a waiting list, if you like, for money that might become available to DFC, they're still successful under Council's programme. So in instance where external funding has been secured, we still need to provide, Council still need to provide 10% match, which can be done from our existing access budget. And members, you're just asked to note the contents of this report and approve the acceptance of these letters of offers, which are associated with the business case submissions approved by DFC. And you're asked to approve in principle the acceptance of letters of offer for St Colum's Park House and Holywell Trust should they be issued subsequently by DFC, and also asked to approve the initiation of a review process of the access audits for council-based culture and venues and the commissioning of 3 new access audits for new venues. So happy to take any questions.
Alderman McCready, you're on the chat box.
Yep, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report, Aideen. Nothing gives me a more great pleasure to hear of successful community-based applicants in everything that we do. So more power to you. And I note the content of the reports and those approvals that you've asked for. So I've got no concerns, no issues. Just keep up the good work. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aideen, for the report. So obviously, it's fantastic news that the council has secured over £100,000 in funding to make venues right across the city and district more accessible for disabled people that live here. So, you know, the Solace Centre have been successful, the Gas Yard has been successful, the Newgates Arts and Cultural Centre has been successful as well, and St Collins Park House and the Hollywell Trust are on a reserve list in case more money is allocated to this fund. But I've got one question. It's about the digital and visual audio tours that we've managed to get 27 grand for. Is that specifically for council-owned facilities, or is it for external bodies and organisations? Happy to second the report, Chair.
My understanding is for all of the cultural venues, just to come back to Councillor Farrell, so not just for council venues. It's a across all of our cultural venues.
Okay, so we move on. Patricia's looking at Patricia, sorry, Musty there. And then Councillor or Alderman Halsey after.
No, I just want to welcome this report, Aideen. It's very welcome to get this funding to make our buildings more accessible to everybody within the council district. Thank you.
And Alderman Halsey.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair, and a member of the committee. And like others, it's extremely welcome the success that the various organisations have achieved, Solus, Newgate, and others. I think it would also be remiss not to comment and congratulate the main driving force, or one of the main driving forces within Solus, James Key, on the award of his MBE within His Majesty's New Year's Honours List. I think everyone knows the work that James has done in this regard, so I think it's worthy of note within this particular item. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I don't see any other speakers. So we move on to item 8. Aideen again.
Again, yeah. So thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to inform you of Tourism Northern Ireland's funding, which has been secured to install the Home of Dairy Girls pilot exhibition in the Tower Museum and to establish the accompanying Dairy Girls Trail in partnership with Visit Dairy. And to seek your approval to proceed with this pilot exhibition and explore further opportunities to create a longer term Dairy Girls visitor experience in the city. I don't need to go into some of the detail there. I'm pretty sure that's outlined in the report around the success of the TV show Dairy Girls and the worldwide success, with 2.5 million people tuning into Channel 4 and the global platform that has been provided for the series, and therefore the level of national international exposure for this council area's destination, right across Netflix, and it has generated a huge amount of interest in the wider region and throughout the world. And using the show to create a visitor experience will enhance the tourism offering by providing new tourism product, which will work alongside other great assets such as the mural associated with the TV show, filming locations, the Dairy Girls Afternoon Tea, and to enable the city to be home of this wonderful TV series and to generate greater interest in this council area as a major visitor destination. So given the level of interest in the show, Council and Visit Dairy have been working together on the background to this project for over the last 12 months, which has included largely ongoing negotiations with Hat-Trick Productions on obtaining access to the collections from the show, which really relate to the set and a lot of the props that were used in the making of the show and are owned by Hattrick, currently owned by Hattrick. And it's involved us working on formalising a loan agreement around the selection of these key items and securing access to copyright. As a result, the project can be activated as soon as possible, as much of the groundwork has been completed. Visit Derry have also carried out extensive engagement with businesses who are committed to being part of the home of Derry Girls Trail. So funding has been secured through Tourism Northern Ireland's market-led product development programme this year to create this pilot visitor experience exhibition in the Tower Museum, which will allow visitors, as I said, to explore some of the sets, props and memorabilia from the TV show. This will be used to test public interest in this concept and be of a scale that can be delivered within this funding timescale. The intention is to use this as a pilot to work towards a much bigger and more permanent visitor experience in the city, where more of the collections can be viewed. The Home of Derry Girls pilot exhibition will be high quality, original, immersive experience, which will be housed in the Tower Museum and will highlight the social impact of the phenomenon of the show, which its roots obviously have a setting in the city throughout the 1990s and the key events that took place in that. We expect to see, you'll set out in the report there some of the proposals for what the spaces that might form part of the exhibition would be, but they include the iconic things such as Sister Michael's office and Aaron's bedroom. A major element, obviously, of the exhibition, and particularly the pilot exhibition, will be digital interaction, and it's expected there will be extensive use of audio, augmented reality, and other digital tools to enhance the experience. The pilot exhibition will be accompanied by a locations trail, which will be delivered in partnership with Visit Derry. This is a result of as I'm sure you can imagine, significant number of visitors request to visit the filming locations throughout the city. As home of, the city has played a starring role, with Lisa McGee, the writer, describing herself as another character in the series. This will inevitably generate further business opportunities, particularly by the private sector, to develop their own, Derry Girls themed experiences and products. Working closely with Visit Derry, the trail will link to the museum experience. The project will also animate the city centre by working with local businesses and creating special offer and additional programming. The pilot exhibition will be in place for this summer's tourist season. The time frame from the funder for the delivery of the project there is a requirement to deliver elements by March, the end of March of this year, and officers have issued a call for the supply of a tender to appoint an exhibition designer and programme coordinator. And members of detail, you're asked to just approve the procurement policy, or the procurement procedures there as set out in the report that follow the policies of council. Once the designers are appointed, they'll create a taster promotional display, which will see the summer full pilot exhibition opening this summer, with hopefully a launch of the trail by the end of March of this year. The funding is £70,000 with some additional money from Council's Museum Service Programme, which brings it up to an overall budget of £80,000. And members, you're asked to note the content of the report, approve the financial and procurement arrangements set out in the report, and approve the acceptance of the letter of offer from Tourism Northern Ireland, and to proceed with the pilot exhibition with the view to looking at longer term options for more permanent Derry Girls visitor experience in the city. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Cusick, you're first on.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Aileen, for the detailed report there. Firstly, can I declare an interest, as I'm on the board of Visit Derry? Chair, on behalf of the SDLP, I'd like to welcome and propose this item. I was very excited to read all about the project and delighted to see Derry Girls Legacies living on in what promises to be a really fantastic tourism offering, and benefiting both overseas and local visitors and fans like myself. And thank you to Tourism Northern Ireland for their investment and backing, naturally. Chair, it's no secret that Derry Girls is my favourite show, and even though it's now ended, I still promote it wherever I go. And when anyone asks me where I'm from, it's if they don't automatically recognise the accent, I always refer to the programme, which I believe explains more about our place, our background, politics and culture than a lot of written testimonies. And as a comedy, younger and more diverse audiences have learned about this part of the world through a non-threatening and relatable genre. And as we already know, and as you've already referred to, Aidan, many people have already visited Derry simply because of Derry Girls and Lisa McGee's portrayal of our city and our place. And it shows how, if we can attract local and overseas visitors by the power and success of just this one show, what could we do with a larger stage? I believe we should be building on this success by investing and promoting our own local talent and landscape, and that would be specifically for the film and broadcast purposes. And you will remember I did bring a motion to council now, I think it's almost 2 years ago now, April 2 years ago. So Chair, on the back of that, I'd just like to ask officers where we are with that motion, an update on where council officers are with regards to the film and broadcast industry and the inclusion of film to the business and culture title and directorate. So if they have any update on that, it'd be much appreciated, and thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Heaney before I come back to officers. Councillor Heaney.
Thanks, Chair. And this is thanks, Aidan, for the report. And this is obviously good news and another element of what the tourism product can that the city can offer. And I also just like Councillor Cusick declare an interest as a member of the Visit Derry board. But I have a question just and query, and it's just in relation to the trail element of this. Obviously, there's a number of small businesses, tour companies in the city who are already operating Derry Girls tours, and quite successfully. And it is a huge draw for tourism to the city. So I just have a bit of a concern. The council is moving into a competitive position with some of these smaller businesses across the town. So just be interested to hear from Aidan. You did mention as part of your report there that you've been working and collaborating with small businesses in the town. Just how that's playing out and how this can be complementary to what they're doing as opposed to being competitive to what they're already operating. So forward to hearing back on that. Thanks, Chair.
Aidan, do you want to come on those two?
Yeah, I'll do them in reverse order. So Councillor Heaney, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a pilot. This really is about council obviously the big thing here that we're doing is bringing the collection from Hattrick in effectively into the museum collection. We're going to create an exhibition, but a big part of the partnership work that we're doing with Visit Derry is around the wider experience, and that includes all of those providers. So yeah, we are aware that there's a lot of Derry Girls activity and experiences, and it's our intention to I suppose work together with all of those to create the trail that becomes greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, we have the advantage that we're able to secure this funding to take the collection and to create a substantial exhibition, but we'll be looking to work with all of those other businesses. I mean, really, we're about creating opportunities for other businesses and to create, really cement this as the home of Derry Girls and to capitalise on the exposure that the TV show has generated for the city and district. So I would like to think that this is a real opportunity for a lot of the smaller providers that that we will all benefit from this, and that's a big part of the work that we're going to be doing, and particularly with partnership with Visit Derry on developing the trail and working with all those providers. So I hope that gives some assurance that that's definitely the space that we're in, and that's the outcome that we're all hoping to achieve out of this, and that Tourism Northern Ireland are hoping to achieve as well. Yet, just in relation to Councillor Cusack, I know we addressed this issue at the time. We did outline that we would need significant budget to do to do the change that we do. We do manage all of the requests for filming within our existing budgets, within our existing staff structure, but we were clear that to do, I suppose, to change the name of the department and to put a significant emphasis on it, that we would need resource, which we did submit into the rates process on I think 2 years running. So we do need resource to really significantly capitalise on that. But we're looking to do within our existing resources all that we can, and I think this type of project is a real example of how we have been able to do that and have been able to capitalise on that. I don't think there was any more questions. So if I've missed something or or anybody wants anything else, I'm happy to answer.
I don't see any other speakers, but just to reiterate then what Councillor Heaney was saying. So basically, this will be something inside the museum, but it's not council's intention to start running guided tours in the city and compete. So I think that's really the worry, I think, unless I picked them up wrong. So this is going to be just in the venue, but we're not going to be taking people and tramps them around the town and then having tour guides coming and saying, hey, you're running tours. Was that what you were getting at, Councillor Heaney?
Yes, as I say, and thanks, Aileen, for the response. As long as this has been done collaboratively and we're all working together, so that council isn't just seen to be operating in a way that's actually defeating other businesses that are operating in this field at the minute. So I think that's fair enough.
So members, are we minded then to recommend? I'm happy enough to recommend. Is there anyone?
I'm happy to second, Chair. Just think Councillor Cusack had proposed
it, so that's carried. Next item 10. Is that you again, Aileen?
Yeah, yes, item 9 or
9. Sorry, I'm jumping.
The Sperrin Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty Management Plan. So members, the purpose of this report is to provide you with an update on the Sperrin's partnership progress towards the development of a management plan for the Sperrin Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, AONB, and seek your agreement in advance to accept a letter of offer from the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, Environment Fund Strategic Strand 23 to 28, subject to the outcome of the application. Members, you will recall receiving an update in September, which outlined the current project activities and key priorities for the Sperrin's partnership going forward, one of which was the recurrent matter that has been continuously highlighted as a key priority, and that's the fact that the Sperrin AONB does not have a strategic management plan in place to preserve, protect and manage the landscape. AONB, are valuable not just for their scenery, but for their cultural heritage, biodiversity and increasingly as economic assets. It's important they're properly recognised and managed in a positive and coordinated way. Of the 8 AONB in Northern Ireland, Sperrin is the area is the only one that doesn't have a management plan. And if this position continues, the landscape will remain unprotected and vulnerable to climate change and damage. With this in mind, and in line with the outcomes of the Sperrin's Future Search initiative and the objectives of the Sperrin's Partnership Board, an application was submitted to the Department's Environment Fund with a view to commence the development of a 10-year management plan and 5-year action plan. The development of a management plan for the Sperrin AONB would create a mechanism to allow more efficient and streamlined ways of working that achieve more sustainable long-term delivery of outcomes through the delivery coalitions and partnership working. A plan would minimise duplication of work and maximise additionality and create opportunities, in particular to draw down funding. It'll provide a platform for shared expertise and sharing of knowledge. The management plan will provide leverage to reach sectors of society and turn affect long-term change in behaviours benefiting the environment. Plan will encourage sensitive and sustainable use of the landscape, setting out shared priorities for all vested stakeholders and identify actions to protect, promote and enhance these assets. The application to the Department's Environment Fund Strategic Strand was submitted in November, and it is expected that the outcome will be known towards the end of this month. At present, there's no financial contribution or match funding requirement from partner councils towards the development of plan. How this position is subject to the outcome of the application to the fund. It is envisaged that the development of the management plan will require staff input and resource across a range of service areas. Members, you're asked to agree in advance to accept a letter of offer from the Department's Environment Fund Strategic Strand should the application be successful, and further reports in relation to the developments of the management plan and any additional financial requirements will be agreed with the 4 Sperrin Partnership Councils in advance and obviously brought to you members for approval. So thank you members, and happy to take any questions on this one as well.
Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and thank Aileen for bringing forward this report. And I'm very happy to propose the recommendation. And I think Aileen has spelled it out rightly there, that if we don't have a management plan for the Sperrin area and around that AONB, that there could be problems, a lot of stuff doesn't. The landscape remains unprotected and vulnerable to climate and change and damage. But Chair, just to welcome the report and hope that we get good news very, very shortly on the funding through DAERA. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Maguire and then Councillor Harkin in chamber. And I see Jason Barr has seconded that motion, so.
Chair, just wanted to second the motion. Just to say that, this is very welcome. I thank Aidan for that report. I think it's the AONB management plan. It was designated in 1968, Sperrin's AONB, and we're getting around to the management plan now. So, it's very positive news to see this coming forward. And Councillor Kelly also told me to pass on my regards to Aidan as well for all the work that's been done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, very happy to support the recommendation, and thanks, Aidan, for the update and for the work on this. And I think we all agree as a council that the protection of the sparrows is vitally important for us, and that if this moves forward, it will certainly assist that. I also wanted to raise that I think the council should welcome the fact that the Planning Appeals Committee has extended the time to respond to the public inquiry into Dalradian Gold's plans for destructive mining in the Sperrins until January 30th. The public inquiry is going to look at the 8 separate applications that Dalradian Gold have put in. And so it's really, really important that there's public participation. So people across this district who signed petitions and letters to the Appeals Committee will have gotten letters in the door letting them know about the public inquiry and asking if they want to participate. And because of the postal strike, they've now extended the deadline to the 30th of January. So I think I would like to propose, and we can do that after we finish with this item, but I would like to propose that we welcome that decision to extend, and that we use the council's social media platforms to publish the extension by the PAC, because I think it's very, very important that we do, as a district and as a council, do everything we can to protect the sparrows, and stopping Dalradian Gold's destructive mining has to be at the centre of that. And this council has, its corporate position is obviously in support of that position. Thank you, Chair.
I see Councillor Donnelly has seconded that motion. Stephen, is there anything to stop us doing that, or is that, well, has anybody any problems with that? Putting out on social media that there's an extension, I don't have any issue with that. If anyone worries, look at.
Support that, Chair.
Who's that speaking, sorry?
Councillor Maguire wanted to support that.
Councillor Maguire, okay. So.
Okay with that, Chair.
Could I just ask Councillor Harkin to repeat it, please? Even better.
coming here, folks, just 2 more seconds. So the members know Alex isn't here today, so that's why things are, she's working up from home, and but a technical delay in selling stuff and coming back, so should be ready in the next minute or two. Kevin's frantically typing here. Okay, members, there's the bones of it there. As I said, I don't think any issues with it. Rory?
Yeah, after all that, we're happy to support that. You'll be glad to hear, Councillor Horgan.
Okay, I don't hear anybody dissenting on that, so thank you. We'll move on to item 10 now, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the DNA Museum project and to provide an update on the current progress of the project, and to seek your approval for officers to work with Tourism Northern Ireland to provide a letter of comfort whilst the mechanism to release the Inclusive Future Fund is resolved in line with the current funding plan as agreed with the other funders. Members should be well aware of the background to this project as the project is well progressed, and as previously noted, the funding balance will be provided by the Northern Ireland Executive Inclusive Future Fund as part of the wider City Deal funding project. As project sponsor, Tourism Northern Ireland have been progressing the approval process for the AFF funds with their board and with the Department for the Economy's Finance and Casework Committee. As part of this process, the OBC has been updated to take into account of the increased rate of inflation, and the cost consultants have updated the project costs in August 2022 to 12.7 million. The increased costs have been endorsed by CPD, which has increased Council's contribution to the project through the City Deal Inclusive Future Fund to 5.3 million as set out in the report. The OBC has been signed off by both Tourism Northern Ireland Board and the DFE Finance and Casework Committee. The updated funding table is summarised in the report. The current programme is based on recommencement of the ICT in January, that is this month of this year, with procurement of the IST commencing in this spring. The timeline is expected to see works commence in this summer, with the goal to have construction and fit out completed in the museum opening in 2025. It should be noted, members, that given these dates are very current, they may be subject to change given the overall content of this report and some of the uncertainties inherent in it. The OBC was signed off by the DFE Permanent Secretary in the week commencing the 12th of December. The Department of Finance expenditure pro forma was submitted on the 15th of December. which included reference to the Executive Office business case in regards to the disposal of the buildings assigned for DNA. The Department of Finance are expected to revert with any queries on the project this month, which Council and Tourism Northern Ireland will address. While the funding mechanism to unlock the Inclusive Future Fund monies is agreed, Council and Tourism Northern Ireland will work on a letter of comfort for the project until this mechanism is resolved, and it's anticipated that this will be agreed this month, any day now. It is hoped that this will give Council and the other funders a sufficient level of comfort to proceed with the project on the basis that the balance of funds can be profiled between all the funders to allow the project to proceed without delay and run on the basis of the agreed timeline. The other funders are content to proceed on this basis, and a series of meetings are scheduled to take place this month to agree the draft funding profile for the project. Tourism Northern Ireland will issue the draft letter of comfort in parallel with these discussions on release of the IFF monies to the project in January. There's details there about the BREEAM rating of the project, but the key issue is the need to secure outstanding capital funding for the project, and as such, officers will continue to work with all the funders to progress the project in line with their budgetary requirements and spend profile. Just to note, ongoing revenue implications of the project, that is staffing cost, running costs, net of forecast income, have also been recurrently provided for within Council's capital budget. Members, you're asked to note the contents of this report on the current status of the DNA Museum project, and as the project progress of the outline business case is very live, any further updates will be reported to you for updates and decision. Members, you're asked to give your approval for Council and Tourism Northern Ireland to accept any letter of comfort to allow the project to proceed whilst the mechanism to release the AFF funds is resolved in line with the current funding plan and as agreed with the other funders. Members, happy to take any questions.
Councillor Logue and then Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aidan, for this most welcome report. And I would like to propose that we go ahead with the case outlined in your report. It's certainly very welcome that we're another step forward to having this first-class museum within the city and district. And I would like at this stage to acknowledge a lot of the work done by the council officers, but also on a higher level by members of my own party, especially Conor Murphy behind the scenes to get this development front loaded with our funds. But certainly it'll be great to see this development move forward so that we can showcase the city. Thank you.
Councillor Farrell and then Alderman Devaney.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Aidan, for the report. We've been talking about this since I've been on council in 2019, and it's the project had started a long time before I even thought about running for council. But there've been hurdles, there've been obstacles, there've been barriers, there've been delays, but we're virtually there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. The business case is approved. The final sticking point seems to be releasing the 5.3 million from the Inclusive Future Fund, which I sincerely hope is a formality. Fingers crossed, we have work commencing on site in the summer with everything done and dusted and the museum open at some stage in 2025. And that's going to result in a £13 million investment, which is going to breathe new life into Ebrington. It's going to give us a first-class museum, which is going to tell visitors and locals alike about our proud maritime heritage, and it's going to be a jewel in our cultural crown. Ebrington is going to be transformed. At that stage, we'll have the hotel open, the bar, restaurant beside the Peace Bridge will be open. We have the embankment, we have the Walled City Brewery. So Ebrington in general is going to be a destination of choice in this city. And like Councillor Logue before me, I'd like to pay tribute to the work of Aidan and Stephen and the entire team at Council for the determination the diligence and the dedication you've shown through this entire process. It's an amazing project, it's a critical project, and it's virtually over the line. But I've got one question about the release of this 5.3 million from the Inclusive Future Fund. Do we have any concerns about this at all, or is this just a matter of sign off?
Chair, I'm happy to take that one. Obviously, it separately is working with our sponsoring department with Tourism and I. We're also talking directly to Treasury to ensure that there is no issue. We're assured that this is a procedural issue, that it needs to sign off. But what we're looking for is comfort as well from Treasury to know that if we go ahead with this on the basis of this letter of comfort, that we're going to be able to ultimately draw down the money post the event rather than and not to have it excluded as you know, we started a project without approval as such. So we're working on all of that to make sure that is as rock solid as we can make it. So if you're asking me today, do I have any concerns? There's always that slight doubt, but we're doing everything we can to cast iron this so as we can progress with this project, and everybody's working with us to do that. So I don't have any major issues, but there's always that slight doubt when you don't have the signed letter of offer.
Councillor Farrell, I asked him the same question just before. Are you coming back in, sir?
Well, that's very reassuring, and thank you for that update, Stephen. So I'm happy to second that report. Thank you.
Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. And like the previous speakers, I would like to welcome the presentation and once again put on record our thanks for the work that Aideen and Stephen and the team have done in around this. It has been a huge piece of work, and you know, it's good news to hear the positive stories coming. And I have to say, this will be an excellent museum, you know, telling the story of the maritime issue and around the city. And look, and that whole Ebrington area, hopefully within the next 5 years, will be a very buzzing and a very attractive place for tourists to come to, and it should be one of the designations in the area to visit at that time. But you know, it will enhance that whole Ebrington area, whether it's the bar or hotels or whatever, continues to come in, and we expect more to come in. But look, very happy to support the recommendation, and once again, thanks to Stephen and Aideen for the piece of work that has been done. Huge amount of work. Thank you.
I don't see any other speakers on that, and I don't see anyone dissenting. So let's go to open for information. Now there's 4 items. Can we take them 2 at a time? I'll go through Peace Plus update and co-design process and Project Stratum. If anyone has any issues on those, please
Chair,
put them in the chat box.
Project Stratum, please.
Okay, who's that? Sorry.
Councillor Maguire.
Councillor Maguire. Councillor Maguire, come on in.
Yeah, Chair, in relation to the Project Stratum, I want to thank Kevin and Stephen for the report, something I raised at full council. I note in 2.1, you know, telecoms in the UK is fully privatised, and that's right, but telecoms is a major part of our community plan. And, you know, there's a whole lot of unanswered questions there. You know, it is a brief report. So I was wondering if we could set up a meeting, you know, maybe with rural councillors or whoever else wanted to attend, but probably it's a lot of interest to rural councillors as Project Stratum, you know, is for the not spots or the areas with no broadband. If we could set up a meeting with them and maybe iron out some of these questions, and with the view to maybe getting answers of, I don't know who can answer these questions at the minute. I'm sure the Permanent Secretary would be able to get someone to answer the questions, but if we could maybe get a meeting through Kevin or Stephen and get that set up and get some of the answers to the questions, I'd appreciate that, Chair. And if I could make that a proposal.
Okay, I don't have the Permanent Secretary. If somebody better, I think Kevin wants to come on that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I mean, we could certainly invite representatives from the telecoms team from DFE, but also I think the representatives from Fibrus, Councillor Maguire. I think that would be useful. I do know that Fibrus came, I think, to one of the rural issue groups maybe about group meetings about a year ago. But that's basically who we tend to liaise with, and the information from that report came directly from the DFE telecoms people, so certainly I can take that forward. And I don't know if it would be helpful maybe to suggest it as, if you want it as a separate meeting than the rural issues group, or as a main agenda item to the rural issues group.
Chair, probably, if you allow me, probably a separate meeting, a focused meeting on it, and we probably need to have a pre-meeting first, just to, because there is issues, postcodes, which were on the initial stuff, they have, went completely off the table. Where are they? The 36 other areas you'll see in your table, who are they? Where are they? Just different things like that there, just to iron it out and, get all our ducks in a row before we would actually get the meeting with them.
I know Councillor Barr has second on that proposal, Councillor Maguire, and Kevin's. You're happy enough, Kevin, to have that as a single item item. So I think that's passed. Alderman Devaney, do you want them?
No, Chair, it was just to second the proposal, but it has been seconded. I think, yes, there has been fantastic news through Project Stratum, but there are still those houses or residents out there who weren't able to avail of the enhancement. As one of the previous speakers said, there are still those areas yet where probably there is no Wi-Fi or no internet to be availed. And I think it's important that look, I think the proposer is right that we have a pre-meeting, especially with councillors or elected members from the rural areas, just to find out where those difficult areas is now. And see where they're at, so that when we do meet with Fibrus and others, that we know the areas that we're asking about. And probably the news that we want to find out, or what we want to find out, is how in the future do we deal with those areas who haven't availed of or weren't able to avail of the enhancement, or maybe have no Wi-Fi, but happy to support it, Chair.
Thanks for that. Let's move on now. I don't see anybody else in the chat box to item 13 and 14, the launch of the UK Shared Prosperity and the Business Innovation and Growth Programme. Does anyone want to comment on those before we move on to confidential business? Rory, Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, so it's item 14, the Business Innovation and Growth Programme, and I know it's on the agenda every single meeting, and nobody ever references it. And the whole point of this is about driving innovation, creating jobs, and we're really good at slagging off Invest NI, for job creation figures in this city and district. But do we have any understanding of how many jobs have been created to date through this programme? I know the aspiration is 550, and there's 644 likely jobs expected to be created. But do we have any understanding of, to date, how many actual new jobs have been created with people in employment? Because it'd be really useful to know. Thank you.
So the figures that you get within the reports are based on the initial assessments that the team do with the client companies. So whenever they come on board to access this support, they're asked general questions around job creation and that type of thing. So that's how you collate best endeavours for job promotion. At the end of the programme, there'll be a full evaluation done, and at that point there'll be a sample taken of the participants, not every participant, but a sample will be taken, and then a formula used then. So when the programme finishes on the 31st of March, you have to have the full evaluation done by the 30th of June. So at that point in time, you'll have a good understanding of did those companies then go on to create jobs. That's pretty much it.
Happy enough?
but do we have any idea to date? Would there be any sort of feedback? So we've got a company involved in this. Do they then say at any stage, right, so far we've created 12 jobs and we're over the moon with it? Or is that part of the process?
You get feedback like that all the time, but it's not something that, that I could quote as an evidential base. They say, look, of the X amount of companies that have accessed this support, they have, created those jobs, because we haven't done the full evaluation yet. I might just check to see if there was a midterm evaluation done, but I do think that it's the full evaluation where we get those more concrete figures. And again, you're relying on, we don't look at, PAYE search. We don't look at tax returns. What we're doing is people come on board these programs, they access support. Now, the premise is that it's job creation, but we all understand that there's a bigger journey than that to go on for these companies. It's not, whilst jobs are really, really important, it's also about the growth of those organisations. And sometimes lots of those organisations fail because that's the nature of entrepreneurship. So when we get to that point, we could stand over some of the statistics, but I wouldn't want to just sit here today and say, well, company X told me that they had created 3 jobs, because I don't think that could be, it's not something that I can verify here with you.
Okay, I don't see any further speakers, so we can move on to confidential now for item 15 and 16. I think there's decisions to be made.
Normally we would just point